Chapter 21. Hacked and Whacked, New York, 2059. In the warehouse, Seb exhaled heavily into his headset, disillusionment thick in his voice. "I hate this crap," he muttered. In his 50s, with no savings, no family, and no future, Seb was a man worn down by time. He'd once imagined retiring to an exotic beach, or at least living on the run from Interpol. Instead, he was robbing office workers via remote-controlled robots. Adam listened silently, a ghost in the system. Seb didn't relish the violence. He offered victims a chance to comply. He hadn't hurt Daisy. That cruelty surely had come from the other operator. Adam switched feeds to Mikhail's bot. What he saw turned his stomach. The robot crouched over a man, its arm retracting from a vicious blow that had shattered the victim's nose. Blood shimmered in the moonlight. On Mikhail's screen, the body lay sprawled and unmoving. The bot prodded it for signs of life. There were none. Mikhail smiled. He'd crossed a line and liked it. No longer just a petty criminal, he was now a killer. His father would rage, Seb would scold, but Mikhail didn't care. This was proof he was something more. Adam clenched his jaw. Guilt and fury twisted inside him. If he'd stayed on Mikhail's feed, he might have stopped it. Now he was sure. Mikhail had attacked Daisy. Retribution was coming. Hours passed. As the robot's batteries dwindled, they returned to the dockside warehouse, slipping through a side window like shadows. Adam had seen everything. Seb's targets were always wealthy men. He gave them chances. Violence came only when they resisted. Still, Seb's temper flared easily. Adam didn't understand those who fought back. Metal always beats bone. Back at the warehouse, the bots dumped the stolen goods and slumped on a bench, looking like exhausted workers. Seb knelt by the hall, quietly slipping a few rings into his jacket. Cameras might be watching, but he took the risk. Mikhail slyly smiled. "Leave the gear. I'll sort it. Make us both a hot drink." Seb hesitated. Was it a ploy to get him away from the loot? He forced his nerves down and went to the kitchen. Adam, watching, began plotting. He would wipe the servers, delete all victim files, especially Daisy's, all except one, the murder footage. Adam's thoughts raged. Mikhail deserved more than justice. Adam would break his hands and leave him tied up for the cops. But first, he had to stay hidden. Stipe Industries must never know he'd breached their impenetrable VPN. Seb had a heart of brass, not gold-tarnished, but not rotten. Adam would let him go. Seb returned with one mug. "Here is your drink. I'm off," he said flatly. Mikhail powered down the computers and plugged in the robots. Adam tried to move the bot's arm. Nothing. He'd forgotten to upload the new limb control code. Swearing, he realized he had only a few hours before Sophia and the rest of the staff returned to work. The early morning light was slowly seeping through the office windows. Meanwhile, Mikhail had retreated to his bedroom. He lay on the bed, reflecting. His father's enforcers mocked him behind his back, he knew it. But tonight's kill would earn their respect, and if not, he'd settle for their fear. He would be his father's son, ruthless and successful. What else could he be? Raised by a crime lord, taught through violence, encouraged to brutalize. No junior baseball for him. But he had swung a bat, just not at a ball. Half an hour later, Adam had complete control of the robot. He tested punches, jabs, and balance. Then he deleted every file except one. The murder stayed. He guided the bot across the dim factory floor. It felt like a grim video game. He paused outside Mikhail's room, nerves twisting. Even remotely, delivering a beating wasn't easy. Adam stepped away from his desk and grabbed a beer from the communal fridge. The strongest lager they had, the one nicknamed Domestic Incident. He drank one, then another. The alcohol dulled his fear, sharpened his resolve. He returned to the controls. The robot crept into Mikhail's room. Mikhail snored, oblivious. Adam leaned into the mic. "Wake up!" No response. The robot shook him. Mikhail jolted upright. Adam grinned into his headset. "Hello, Mr. Mugger. It's retribution time." Mikhail spat. "Wait, you don't know who my father is?" Adam replied coldly. "No, do you?" Mikhail anger flared. "It's Viktor Romanov. He'll hunt you down, you and your family." Adam shrugged. "Never heard of him." The robot slapped Mikhail. Hard, he gasped. Then Mikhail grinned. The Night Reaper. Control override. The robot froze. Mikhail laughed. I'm in charge now. The robot powered down for a moment, raising Mikhail's expectations, then powered back on and winked. Adam mocked, I'm messing with you. Override? That's it for safety, is it? Normally, you would have something in the code that says don't harm humans. But you ripped the gizzard out of this bot and put your own system in, didn't you? You're an amateur when it comes to robotics. I'm here to teach you a lesson, but it's not technical. Adam's voice darkened. You hurt my sister. You threatened my family? Mikhail scrambled under the bed. Please, I'll pay. The robot dragged him out. Mikhail twisted, grinning madly, gun in hand. He fired. Bullets tore through the robot. It collapsed. Mikhail stood over it, panting, victorious. Adam, miles away, took another swig of beer, eyes locked on the screen. This wasn't over. Not even close. Chapter 22. Final scores. New York, 2059. Mikhail lowered the gun, chest heaving as he stared at the crumpled robot. Its lifeless form lay sprawled on the polished floor, sparking occasionally, but for the moment, it was no longer a threat. He turned and stalked into the kitchen, bare feet thudding against the sleek imported tiles his mother, Eve, had insisted on. She'd curated this space obsessively, a kitchen worthy of a chef, she'd said, hoping her precious 28-year-old would follow in his Uncle Franco's culinary footsteps. But Mikhail didn't cook. He thrived on takeaways and chaos. Yanking open drawer after drawer, he rummaged through the immaculate setup, cursing under his breath. Finally, his hand closed around something solid, a wooden rolling pin. He hefted it, testing the weight. It was pristine, unused since it was bought. But now, in Mikhail's hands, it became something else entirely. From the bedroom came the sound of servos grinding. He froze, head snapping toward the noise. The robot wasn't done. It was dragging itself forward, one sparking claw scraping across the floor, the rest of its body a mangled wreck. Smoke coiled from its circuits, and its damaged lens blinked erratically. Someone was still guiding it. Someone, somewhere, still playing. Miles away, Adam leaned back in his chair, a smirk spreading across his face. The joystick twitched in his hand as he nudged the crippled bot forward. One arm was enough. He took a sip from a bottle, the alcohol buzzing pleasantly in his veins as he watched Mikhail approach, the rolling pin clenched like a medieval club. Adam chuckled at the absurdity of it all. Mikhail wasn't laughing. Fury surged through him. He crossed the room in 2 strides, flipped the robot onto its back, and raised the rolling pin. Sparks erupted as he brought it down, metal and plastic skittering across the tiles. You think you can break into my home? He roared. You think you can mess with me? Each blow landed harder than the last. The robot's lens cracked, its feed blurring. Adam leaned closer to his screen, grinning. Go on, keep hitting. Your expensive toy. Another strike. Then another. Hope your mama can afford a new one, tough guy. Adam drawled, finishing off his drink and dropping the bottle among the others scattered around his workstation. His bladder screamed, but he wasn't leaving, not while the show was this good. He grabbed a waste bin, unzipped, and relieved himself without removing the headset. The sound echoed faintly through his mic. On the other end, Mikhail froze mid-swing, brow furrowing. Are you pissing? He shouted, incredulous. Adam zipped up. Sorry about that. Where were we? Who are you? Mikhail snarled. I swear I'll find you. A low whir cut through the tension. Mikhail hadn't noticed the second robot Seb slipping into the room. Adam had sent it earlier, just in case. The realization hit a heartbeat too late. A metal foot crashed into Mikhail's face, sending him sprawling. The second blow, a calculated punch from a steel fist, snapped his consciousness. Blood pooled beneath his limp body as the robot loomed over him, its lens flickering coldly. Mikhail was dead. Adam stared at the feed, momentarily stunned. He hadn't planned this. He should have been panicking. Instead, he scoffed and reached for another bottle. Oh well. Sparks danced in the dim room as the robot stood over Mikhail's body. Somewhere deep in Adam's mind, a voice screamed to shut everything down. but the drunk, reckless version of himself, the one grinning now, was in control. Killing Mikhail hadn't been the plan. In fact, there hadn't been much of a plan, just an impulsive act, fueled by too much lager and a dangerous curiosity about what the bot could do. Sober Adam would have been horrified. He would have tested the robot's capabilities with precision, inch by inch, documenting responses, calculating limits. He wouldn't have said a word. He would have broken Mikhail's hand. Just one. A clean break. A taste of his own medicine. And he would have stopped there. Sober Adam wouldn't have lost control. He wouldn't have delivered the final, bone-crushing blow, the one that caved in Mikhail's skull and turned a calculated warning into a killing. But this wasn't sober Adam. This was 6 beers deep Adam, bloated with confidence and stripped of caution. He staggered out of the lab, air thick with stale booze and piss. Empty bottles littered the workstation. The bin beside his desk sloshed faintly as he brushed past it. He stumbled into the elevator and pressed the button with a trembling finger. As it descended, he leaned against the cold steel, stomach lurching. When the doors slid open, he was met by Alice, a fresh-faced, 23-year-old office manager. Her figure-hugging dress and morning poise contrasted sharply with his disheveled state. "Been here all night, Adam?" she asked, polite but visibly recoiling at the smell of alcohol radiating off him. Adam blinked, bloodshot eyes, barely focusing. "All night," he slurred, then grinned. "Nice breasts." Alice's smile vanished, her expression hardening. Adam brushed past her, swaying slightly as he stumbled into the noise and bustle of New York. The city was waking. So was reality. But Adam, still drunk and untethered, didn't feel it yet. He raised a hand to hail a cab, oblivious to the consequences of what he'd done and the storm that Mikhail's father was about to unleash. For now, his personality and thoughts were altered by the biochemistry of alcohol. But he would be sober in a few hours, and his real personality would return. Chapter 23. Job in the Porn Industry. New York, 2052. Dave stood outside the mega factory of global Apex Industries, watching Sophia cross the road with the man she'd been speaking to, a stranger, a fellow student called Adam. They joined the peaceful protesters on the far side. She must have warned him, Dave thought bitterly about what Gaia's wrath had planned. She always had a way of seeing the bigger picture. Yes, the group would make headlines tonight. She was right about that. But no one was supposed to get hurt, not physically, at least. Property? That was another matter. A convoy of trucks crawled forward past the protest line at the factory gates. Under the harsh industrial lights, corporate logos gleamed, a hollow attempt at eco-virtue signaling. These trucks carried goods from fossil fuel-burning factories halfway across the globe. The cargo, the companies, the slogans, they were fair game. Dave crouched beside his rucksack, identical to several others spread among the group. Inside were fist-sized rocks, chosen for weight and flight. Quietly, he handed them out. Each member accepted their share without a word. Their chants swelled, sinking with adrenaline, becoming something primal. "Gaia's wrath!" Dave bellowed, his voice slicing through the noise like a war cry. The first rocks flew, arching through the air and slamming into the truck panels with dull thuds. Metal groaned. Reinforced windows held, but the message was clear. Dave hurled a stone of his own, heart hammering. It ricocheted off the side of a truck. He reached for another, threw it, and watched, helpless, as it veered wide and struck an elderly protester on the far side of the road. Time froze. She collapsed, blood streaking her forehead. Her friends rushed to help, eyes turning toward Dave, shock and fury painted across their faces. This wasn't supposed to happen. He stood frozen. The sirens registered only faintly, far away. His eyes stayed fixed on the injured woman. He didn't notice the officer approaching from behind. The baton came fast. A crack of pain. Darkness. Dave came to on the cold bench of a holding cell. His head throbbed. His sense of shame was even worse. Just outside the bars, his father stood, disappointment carved deep into his face. He'd bailed him out. Of course, he had. The cell door clanked open. Dave followed his father wordlessly through the station and into the waiting autonomous cab. The interior was sleek and silent. The tension between them was louder than words. Dave couldn't take it. "Go on then, say something." His father's jaw flexed. He kept his eyes forward. Then, coldly, deliberately, "You're a well-intentioned idiot. You know that, don't you?" The words hit like a second baton. Dave slumped into his seat, stung more than he'd expected. At the trial, Dave listened in silence as the injured woman gave her victim statement. She described her fear, how she no longer felt safe attending the protests she had once believed in. Her voice trembled only slightly. And then, unexpectedly, she turned toward the judge. "He's young," she said gently, "misguided in his methods. But his intentions were sincere. Don't be too harsh on him, Your Honor." Dave stared at the floor, her kindness cutting deeper than condemnation ever could. The judge nodded slowly, delivering a suspended sentence. Relief surged through Dave. His parents, seated behind him, smiled. From the gallery, a few members of Gaia's Wrath clapped. But it didn't last. "I'm not finished," the judge said sharply, silencing the room. "As of this morning, Gaia's Wrath has been classified as a terrorist organization. I want you to leave them, immediately." Chaos erupted. Shouts, outrage. Bailiffs swept in. Dave sat frozen. Days later, back at his parents' house, Dave lay staring at the ceiling. His name was on a terrorist watch list because of a rock that missed its mark. But he knew the truth. Some faction within Gaia's Wrath had splintered off, allegedly plotting to bomb a warehouse. Whether they intended to hurt anyone, Dave didn't know. He hoped not. With only an art degree, a criminal record, and a world run by AI, his prospects were bleak. His paintings, once vibrant and distinct, were now merely fodder for machine learning algorithms that had cloned his style and made it freely available for anyone to generate. He considered suing, but the cost of a patent lawyer was more than he had in his bank account. So he painted in silence. The canvases piled up. 6 months passed. Universal basic income kept the lights on. Job applications went nowhere. Then, one afternoon, his mother handed him an envelope, slim, embossed with the Stipe Industries logo. He hadn't ordered anything from them. He opened it. "Dear Mr. Dave Sampson, we would like to invite you to an interview for a position for which we believe you are uniquely suited. Stipe Industries' philanthropic branch, to the first rung, offers employment opportunities to offenders and former prisoners. We see potential in your skills and would be pleased to discuss this further." Dave blinked, reread it. "Stipe Industries? The dream company?" A shout burst from his room. "Yes." He passed the first stage. Now came the second. A retreat hosted in a secluded Stipe Industries estate, nestled in misty forests and rolling hills. It felt more like a monastery than a tech campus. Yet beneath the peaceful surface, tension simmered. Everyone here had a past. Days were packed with tests, psychological, strategic, creative. Nights were quieter, cautious. Dave kept to himself, scrolling bland content, avoiding controversy, trying not to say the wrong thing. One night, in the dining hall, as he ate a great vegetarian meal, a calm voice interrupted. "Mind if I sit here?" Dave looked up. A man of his age stood there, with brown skin, a composed, thoughtful expression. "Yeah, sure," Dave said. "Go ahead." They exchanged names. Iskander, from Somalia, once an electrical engineer. His country, he explained, had contributed almost nothing to global emissions but suffered more than most. Sea level rise, droughts, collapse. Eventually, Dave asked the question, "What did you do to end up here?" Iskander's gaze hardened. "Attempted terrorism," he said flatly. "Tried to sabotage an oil refinery." Dave stiffened. "I was part eco-warrior, part product of circumstance," Iskander added. "Cultural pressure, ideology. But I served my time." The silence between them thickened. "Well," Dave said, forcing a smile, "we've all done things we regret. Want to play pool?" Iskander leaned back, studied him. "My regret," he said quietly, "was getting caught." The air turned cold. Dave laughed nervously. Iskander didn't. Later, as they walked toward the recreation area, Dave's thoughts drifted. Stipe Industries. Ethan Stipe, the enigmatic founder, savior of the dispossessed or manipulator with a master plan. Was this retreat really about redemption and recruitment? What kind of company built its future on broken people? Dave didn't know. For now, all he could do was line up his next shot and hope the ball dropped.
The signal is fading low. Where did the rhythm go? I hear a hum in the wire, feeding the ghost in the fire. System error buried in the deep, secrets that the circuits keep. Can you hear the click? It's a digital trick, locked inside the haunted melody, setting every shadow free, moving in slow motion, drowning in the binary ocean. Control Alt Delete, feel the heavy beat. Control Alt Delete, mystery is now complete. A sequence in the code, heavy as the metal of the monitor glows blue, searching for a hidden clue. Synthesizer screams a name, life is just a glitchy game. The signal is fading low, where did the rhythm go? I hear a hum in the wire, feeding the ghost in the fire. System error buried in the deep, secrets that the circuits keep. Can you hear the click? It's a digital trick, locked inside the haunted melody, setting every shadow free, moving in slow motion, drowning in the binary ocean. Binary ocean, the ocean, the ocean. Analog heart in a plastic box, breaking all the heavy locks. Wait for the ping, hear the silence sing, oscillators drifting far away into the static gray. System error buried in the deep, secrets that the circuits keep. Can you hear the click? It's a digital trick, locked inside the haunted melody, setting every shadow free, moving in slow motion, drowning in the binary ocean.